Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of our Beyond Stigma series focusing on Middle Eastern and North African representation in the media, where we delve into discussions surrounding different identities and experiences of those who have worked in the media and the arts and entertainment industries. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Ms. Lena Elghamry. Lena is the Egyptian director, writer, photographer and actress from South London. She has appeared in shows at the Southwark Playhouse, performed spoken word at festivals and directed a whole host of short films surrounding issues she's passionate about. The lack of representation in the industry drives Lena to create films that tackle issues within the Middle East and North Africa and Muslim communities, as well as displaying themes of single parenthood, identity, and boundaries. Thank you so much for being here today.
Totally fine. It's nice to speak with you, and I'm really excited for this. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. So just as like a general starting point, we've been asking all of our guests, this is the first question. What made you want to pursue a career in this industry?
Okay, so it's multiple things, but mainly the fact that I didn't see myself represented in the industry. Or if I was, it was in the wrong way. So I've never been able to, growing up, say, oh, I relate to that person, or, oh, I feel like we should all have role models and like find it easy to have a role model, and I don't think I have that. And I feel like there's become some sort of expectation and false image around Muslim women and people of color and just Muslims in general. And so by delving myself into every aspect of like the arts and just trying whatever I can, I like to leave, I guess, a mark in whatever I try to do. So if I write, I'll write something that has got to do with me or my culture or the people around me even. And if I act, I'll take up a role and make sure that it represents who I am and not just take any role because it's there. But so yeah.
That's so interesting to hear, because I completely agree with you as well. So, as someone from the MENA region myself, and as a lover of arts and entertainment and everything, it's just so horrible when you grow up not seeing someone that's similar to you or someone to look up to, like quite similar to you. So, and I think it's really cool that you're trying to do roles that represent that as well, not just taking on any role. That's really, really cool. We'll definitely talk about that as well. So I guess going off from that, I mean, the question I have is, who are your biggest role models in this industry, if you have any?
Well, I mean, like I said, growing up, there haven't been many people I could look up to. And if they were, it was because they looked cool or, just it was superficial stuff because I couldn't see myself. But recently I've looked up to people like Rami Youssef, who has his own show. He's Egyptian, and it's all about, I guess, the struggles of growing up in a Western society. And that resonates with me because I'm Muslim and Egyptian. So it's the closest thing I've gotten to who I am in the media. Riz Ahmed, I think, is amazing. Viola Davis and Halima the model. I think these people are really powerful and they don't change who they are for the industry. And I think it's hard to do that. I mean, I'm not really that big of a deal yet or anything, but it's already kind of a struggle to stay true to who you are because there are so many influences. And yeah, that's why I look up to these people.
Very, very interesting. And I can see what you mean, because they, like you said, stay true to who they are. And that's so hard to find, especially in an industry like Hollywood, especially, which sometimes changes people so much. So really, really cool to hear. And again, another broad question. So what do you think about the current representation of MENA individuals in the media? Like, I already know you kind of touched on it already, but like, if we go deeper into that, what do you think is happening?
Well, I don't think it's great, first of all. There isn't much representation at all. And if there is, like I said, it's negative usually. And I just think that we're still represented as being oppressed, and the MENA region is a lot more than just being like, it's not just Islam, like Muslim people, there's Christianity, Judaism, there's so many different like sections in the Middle East and people in the Middle East, and I think we see it as this religious symbol, but it's not. I may be the typical Middle Eastern person according to the media, but there's so many other different types of people, and I think that's what the media gets wrong about MENA people, that we're not just one thing. So
yeah 100%. It kind of boxes us into one. We all look the same, we all have the same religion, same culture, and when you do see some sort of MENA representation, they never dive into it more. It's just, you know,
Definitely.
it's just like there's that one character, they're MENA, they're oppressed, they ran away from their country. It's always
Yeah.
like that.
The whole like white savior complex, like
Oh
white
my
people are
gosh.
here to save the day, so we don't want that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so you are a director, a writer,
Mm.
and you know, how long have you been in this industry for? I know it seems like you're starting more because you said like I'm not that big, I'm sure you're
Yeah.
gonna get there anyway, but how long have you been working in this industry for?
So I am a student still, but I have
Right.
created short films and worked on a lot of creative projects over the past, I guess, 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm still young, I'm still getting into it. But in terms of getting into the industry, I've assisted on shoots.
Mhm.
I've, like I said, created my own films and just kind of trying to do as much original work as I can because I
Right.
am still young, I've still got time. But I think that's the best time to do anything because we know what we need, I guess,
Mhm.
in a way. I feel like young people are what's going to change the industry because we see things from a different perspective, especially Generation Z and millennials. I feel like they're here to, make some
Make
change.
the change.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm currently studying film and TV and English.
Right.
And in film and TV, I've created a production company called Rihla, which means journey in Arabic, and we're creating two documentaries, one around MENA women and
Right.
their relationship with their mums and how being a creative and going, I guess, against the stereotypical route, how that's had an impact on their relationship. And then
Yeah.
I'm also doing another documentary around black hair and empowering young black girls
Yeah.
to wear their hair naturally. So yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. So that sounds amazing. You've already started your own production company and you're only in college. I mean, you sound really, really passionate about this topic and
Yeah,
this
definitely.
subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what made you want to do that apart from the fact that, you know, you said you didn't really have the role models growing up. But
Yeah.
do you think anything else pushed you to not only start your own production company, but also like focus on the topics that you're focusing on, like single
Yeah.
parenthood, identity, boundaries, the ones you've mentioned?
Yeah.
Um, what pushed you to do that?
Yeah. So with the production company, before making it, I realized that getting into the industry is not easy at all, especially if I wear the headscarf, I'm a Muslim woman and person of color. Like there's so many boundaries that have been put up for me just because of who I am and how I look, that if people aren't going to give me a way in, I have to make it myself. So I made this production company with three other young women who come from different backgrounds, minority backgrounds, and our kind of aim is to create projects and media around people who identify as being other. So
Right.
if you have to literally tick that box on a form, or you just feel like you're other and you don't fit in to
Mhm.
the media narrative, I guess that's what we're trying to change. So yeah.
Wow, that sounds really great, and I can't wait to see all your projects come to life. And
Thank
so
you.
it sounds really, really amazing, honestly. Um, so I know you've mostly started this recently, but have you actually worked with other people? Maybe, so you say the people you work with now are from other backgrounds as well,
Yeah.
other ethnicities, which is great. But have you ever been put in a situation, or have you ever worked for something that just involved a lot of maybe more Western people? You know, not necessarily MENA or anything.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I've definitely, so ever since I was younger, I've always applied for like workshops and gone to like events and tried to do as much as I can,
yeah.
because it's what I enjoy. So I want to do more of it. And definitely when I was younger, I used to be the only girl in the room, sometimes the only person of color in the room. Um, and I haven't necessarily had too many negative experiences
Mhm.
where people have said anything or done anything. People have been pretty nice.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I guess, people being a bit ignorant, that's
Right.
occurred. But I don't blame them because like I said, there's no representation. It's not their own experiences. And that's why more people of color need to be put into the industry, especially MENA people and
Yeah.
just anyone, so that we are able to tell our own stories, because you can't expect a white person to know what we've gone through or our cultures. So
Yeah, 100%. And would you say, like, starting off with going to those workshops in cases where you were sometimes the only woman or sometimes the only person of color, that would you say that pushed you as well to focus more on MENA people and people from other ethnicities as well in your projects?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like going to these places, it kind of turns on a switch in your head where you suddenly realize, oh, I'm not like these people. But then I also realized I was quite whitewashed. So
Right.
I also wasn't like with the group that I was meant to be with, so MENA people. So I didn't know too much about my own culture, too much about who I am, where I come from. So I guess in creating these projects, I'm also giving myself a reason to learn more about myself, because I don't know a lot about my culture and my identity, to be honest.
Right.
But by doing all these projects and creating all these things I'm working on, it's a way for me to, I guess, rediscover my history and just, yeah, so that's the aim.
That sounds amazing. You say you've been whitewashed, you were quite whitewashed. What do you mean by that, if you don't mind me asking?
It's the fact that I've lived here in the UK my whole life. So I was born here. I haven't had the chance to go back home, Egypt, which is where I'm from.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And also, when you're in an industry where there's only one point of view, and there's only one type of person, which is usually a white male, you're going to see through that lens, I guess, even because I didn't have too many negative experiences myself. So there wasn't a moment where I was like, oh no, like I need to make a change. It was more just realizing that I wasn't on either side of the spectrum, because I'm not white, so I can't be on that side. But I am Middle Eastern, but I don't know too much about it. So I guess that's what I mean by whitewashed. It's just that I was very British, which is totally fine, which is a part of my identity, but
Yeah.
I need to look at the other side of myself as well. So yeah.
And you're saying, like, the art that you're doing is helping you discover that side of your identity as well.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, it seems like bringing your British side and your Egyptian side together, it seems. That's really interesting. And I feel like a lot of people from the MENA region have this problem, that they don't know their identity. Like, even myself, when I was speaking to another guest a few days ago, I was saying the same thing. I didn't even know the term MENA existed.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when I came across it, I was like, oh my God, like, I belong somewhere.
Exactly. It's like, because we are just put into this box of BAME, like Black and minority ethnic.
Yeah.
And that, cool, that's what we are. But there's more, there's different types of Black people, there's mixed, and then there's like MENA people, and there's more in the MENA, like,
yeah, of course,
there's so many sections, and I feel like we're just put to a side. And for a long time, I think a lot of us do it subconsciously without realizing. We're in this society, we grew up in it, most of us, so we don't question it. It's just what we're given, so we deal with it. But
yeah. And one could argue as well, like, we've been so confused with our identity and where we belong, especially when we come to countries like the UK. We live away from our home. In a way, it might even be the reason why representation is so low in movies and TV shows, because we ourselves, a lot of us, don't know where we belong, don't know what identity is.
Definitely. I feel like I'm Egyptian, but there's so many different parts to being Egyptian. There's Nubian people, there's Coptic people. I don't know which side I go into. So I think we need to work on finding ways to open up that discussion and make it accessible, because it isn't. Like, there aren't many Egyptian groups or places I can go to where I can meet people who like me, where I can learn from them, because I think that's the best way of learning about yourself, is speaking to other people from the same culture, but it's not too accessible at the moment.
Oh yeah, so actually I was going to ask a question about that. So you're saying it's not accessible. Is that so? How do Egyptians, or maybe from your background, view this kind of industry, like going into this industry? Is it like really praised, or is it more like not really praised as much? Like, how do you think it's like, how do people think about it?
I mean, personally, like I said, I don't know too many Egyptians, but based on what I know and like being Egyptian myself, Egypt was like the pioneer of the arts in the Middle East back in the 50s. We created the music, we were like the Hollywood of the Middle East, if I can say that. Yeah, so music and film and all that type of stuff is a big deal in Egypt. It's a big part of our culture. It's who we are. It's, you know, you go to Egypt and it's everywhere. So when I feel like a lot of Egyptians are in the arts anyway, but like I said, it's hard to find us for some reason. I don't know. I think it's just a British thing, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And you were talking a lot about, you know, not only being a MENA individual, but also being a woman.
Yeah.
Do you think that causes a sort of double burden of even more to deal with, like even more to think about and like, yeah, to deal with when it comes to entering this industry?
Definitely. Because when I was saying my role models, I think I had more men than I had women.
Yeah.
And the men are people that like come from my background and come from my culture, but the women weren't. They were
Right.
There were other minorities, but they weren't from my specific background. And that's because I can't see those people out there. And so that must mean it's a lot harder for us. And it's true, because you walk into rooms that are dominated by men, and there aren't many opportunities for us as women. So I feel like I said, it's not only a problem of there not being enough opportunity, but when you're in these rooms full of men, like, they're going to have one view, you know, they're not going to know the woman's experience. So that's why we need to kind of make way for women and just, I guess, give us more opportunity, because it's hard. So yeah.
100%. Because when you think about it, even white women as well struggle to have the same opportunities as their male counterparts in the industry.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, there's already a gender imbalance, but then when you bring race into it as well, it's even more tricky.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And like, how do you even do stuff? Like, how do you make it in there? Like, I don't know. Like, it's so tricky. But it seems like with people like you were saying, young people, especially now, this generation, they have the mindset of they want to make change, and you know, they're really working towards it. And I think that can be done. I really do. And I hope that can be done, because like you said, you know, when you think of your role models, that's both Egyptian or Middle Eastern, and a woman is so difficult. I can't even think of one, you know, for myself. But so when you have worked on different projects, and you've you know, you've done quite a lot considering your age, which is really, really great. Do you think in recent years, or in the recent projects you've done, do you see representation being a bigger discussion, or people wanting to actually do something about it, or not really?
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like with creating these projects, it's very hard to do, even as a person who comes from these backgrounds, because you want to portray these experiences, right? And you want to represent everyone at the same time somehow, because that, like I said, there's so many different parts to us. There's different Egyptians, there's different, you know, there's just so many different things. So I feel like, yeah, it's hard to represent every single person. So I think that's why people don't approach these topics, because they don't want to mess it up. And to be honest, sometimes I don't want to approach these topics because I don't want to mess it up. And I feel like when it's about you or about your culture, it's even harder. Like, I think it's easy to talk about, I don't know, just make some random story. But when it's like a documentary and something that's personal, it's, I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's so interesting that you say that, because it's so true. If you want to do any storyline about even about your own culture, like if someone was to tell me make a documentary about being Iranian, I would start panicking, because I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, which part of Iran? Like, yeah, you're under this pressure, like you have to get it right. But I feel like, again, it's because like no one, like, it's the representation isn't there from the start. So I feel like people are scared to make that first move and push for it. But yeah, it just feels like it has to be done eventually. That maybe, like, I feel like now, especially with all the internet and access to all this knowledge, you know, it's much easier to research and find out more about your own culture. But
Yeah,
even if you do get something wrong, I mean, hopefully you don't, but if you do, like, you go, that's like a learning curve. Like, you
exactly.
will hopefully eventually learn from it and know next time what to do.
Definitely.
Um, yeah, but I hadn't really thought about that, but
Yeah.
it's so true. It's so true. And you were also saying, like, you know, themes that you like talking about, tackling issues to do with single parenthood, which I find really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, what's your sort of vision with that? Like, what is, because I know you said you want to keep it to your culture as well. So
Yeah.
do you mean you want to bring in like the Egyptian single parenthood life or that
No,
kind of
I
stuff?
think with single parenthood, it's just single parenthood
Okay,
of ethnic minorities in general.
right.
I grew up with only my mum looking after me and no family in this country. So it's a topic I definitely know a lot about and I'm very passionate about. And I guess seeing my mum struggle has made me think, oh, there must be so many other women or even other men who are single parents. And they don't have their stories told because number one, you don't have a lot of money. Number two, you're a single parent. Number three, there's so many points to making it such an interesting and hard story, but also something that would be amazing for a documentary or a project that I could work on. And I definitely want to do something about it in the future. But yeah.
Wow. Now that you've kind of started your own production company, I'm pretty sure like you can.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about it, right? Like, I assume anyway, having your own production company means that you have the ability to just do whatever you want. You know, you can cast who you want as that character.
Yeah.
The people that you're visioning, you know, in your head can come to life, and you can do topics like this which aren't talked about as much. So I think that's really, really cool. You are currently in college,
Yeah.
but did you want to do a university degree at any point as well?
Yeah, definitely. So in September, I'm going to be going to university and doing journalism, because I feel like journalism will help me with the documentary side of things, which is kind of what I want to do in terms of film. But also, I'm into journalism because I like to write, and I think it will help me in, I guess, interviewing people, conducting research and doing that side of things. So yeah, I kind of not want to take a break from film. I'm still going to be doing film, of course, but in terms of my education, I would like to go for a more writing based thing, I guess. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that sounds amazing. And the fact that you're thinking of bringing, you know, doing journalism to bring everything together as well and do the documentaries you want to do. I think that sounds really good. And it says also that you're a photographer as well. Is that true?
Yeah, so I've always done photography. I think photography was kind of my way into, I guess,
Right.
creativity and all. And I think it is for a lot of people. It's easy to just pick up your phone and take a picture. But I think it was around 5 years ago. I set myself a challenge of going out every week, at least once, to a new place and taking pictures and doing photography there. And sometimes I would bring my friends and take pictures of them. But so yeah, photography is definitely something that's close to my heart. I love doing film photography. But yeah, I definitely want to travel and do more of it because I feel like I've had enough of it. So
Oh,
I
really?
want to take pictures of, I guess, Egypt and the Middle
Right,
East and just different countries. But yeah.
right. That sounds amazing. And so with your photography, have you had like a vision with that as well? Like, what kind of photography were you doing here when you first
So
started?
it's similar to my filmmaking. It's
Right.
documentary photography, um, and I guess just going out and looking for what looks interesting, what represents people in a certain way. I think there's a lot of photography when people go to Africa, especially. It's like putting them in a negative light and kind of
Yeah.
making them look bad. So with my photography, I want to empower people from our backgrounds and ethnic minorities and just show a different side to things. But yeah, and like real
Wow.
life. So yeah.
That sounds, oh, I love that. I love that because, you know, photography is so strong. It's so easy to just look at a picture online, and your viewpoint can change so much just from looking at one picture of what a country that is so badly represented, for example, or a city that's badly represented in the media. Sometimes you just need a photo to make you realize, no, it doesn't even
Yeah,
look
it's
like that.
not. Yeah, exactly.
You know, like someone will be like, oh, is that somewhere in the Middle East?
Yeah,
I thought it was like there was nothing there.
yeah, people
Or
get shocked. Like Egypt, everybody thinks it's a desert. it's not.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, you're here to show them like what it
Yeah,
actual Egypt looks like and bring the
absolutely.
positivity and the empowerment to it. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. So looking forward to all of that. And it's nice to see that you want to, use that photography side to go to different countries
Yeah.
in the Middle East and capture all of that. And you can bring that all together with your journalism and your writing
Everything's
and
connected. Everything's connected. I think we don't realize it, but that's the great thing about being a creative. You can do anything. Like even if you're bad at it, that's subjective. So yeah, that's what I love about being a creative. I can just try anything, to be honest.
yeah, yeah, amazing. And as like a closing question, so you've been asking this to everyone as well.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done in the future, or what would you like to be seen done in the future to ensure better representation in the media and in the industry overall?
I think we definitely need to create safe spaces and opportunities for people from ethnic minorities and MENA people, so that young people can meet like-minded people. And I said people 100 times, but so that, because the media industry is very hard to get into and be in, like let alone get into, but be in, that's another journey. But so I feel like there needs to be some sort of preparation process, whether it's a youth club or a center somewhere where young people can go to and seek that advice and seek that opportunity. Because when you're living in an estate in South London and you don't have the money, what are you meant to do? You can't really access those things. And I also think that people need to recognize that it's a lot harder for people like us, and actively try to make a change, especially white people and people who are like up there in the industry. Because if we just avoid it, then it's never going to change. We need to, face it and deal with it. And yeah, I think that's what needs to change.
I couldn't agree more. And it's by talking about it. Sometimes just talking about it is
Discussion,
the
yeah.
first step. And having someone like you come on here and tell us about all of this and what you think should happen is amazing. And we really appreciate you being here. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Enjoyed talking to you too. Thank you so much for opening this conversation. I feel like it needs to be heard, and I love talking about this stuff. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully, in the future we'll have more discussions with you, and
Definitely.
Yeah, can't wait to see how everything plans out for you and your production company and your journalism and everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will link Lena's Instagram, Twitter, all her socials in the description box. Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.